According to a recent article published by NAFSA called Trends in U.S. Study Abroad, less than 1.5% of all United States students enrolled in higher level education take the chance to study abroad. Fortunately, I was part of that 1.5%, and it's an experience that has definitely had a lasting impact on me. The country itself was so breathtakingly amazing, and while the differences were kind of scary at first, it totally broke my heart to have to leave and come back home. When most people think of studying abroad, or traveling in general, they think of the well-known countries, such as England or Spain or someplace in Europe. But I'm not known for being ordinary, so I chose to go to Costa Rica. And a lot of people don't know much about Costa Rica either, except for maybe it's warm or they speak Spanish. But once you're there, you realize that it's such a diverse and interesting country. One of the things that I noticed as I traveled was that there isn't one basic or general race. Some of the natives were whiter than me, and some had a much darker complexion. But despite that, every single one of them was a Tico. Tico is what they call themselves, like people from Mexico call themselves Mexicans. And the only way you can tell a Tico from a tourist was by their vibe. I realize that sounds kind of strange, but it's undoubtedly true. Costa Ricans have this saying, pura vida. Literally translated, it means pure life. And in a way, that's really what it is. Think of it in a Hakuna Matata type way. No worries, stress-free, life is good. And they use it in every way. So instead of saying hello, they greet each other with pura vida. Instead of saying bye, they say pura vida. When someone asks you how you are, you answer pura vida. It's just so easy to be happy when you're around people with this kind of attitude. Even the nature in Costa Rica follows the same vibe. I saw some of the most beautiful plants and animals there. Fields and fields of plantain trees and coffee plantations, and there were sloths hanging from branches right out of reach. All of these amazing and new things were so exciting at first. But eventually that new wears off. And when that new wears off, a certain sad feeling begins to set in. This feeling is known as culture shock. Culture shock happens when you're suddenly introduced into something new, or a new culture, or new ways of life, and everyone experiences it differently. Thankfully, I only experienced it for a short period of time, but the language was just so overwhelming. When you go from hearing one language your whole life and being able to talk to anybody and say anything that you want, to living in a house with someone who you speak a different language than, and this person is who's cooking your meals and who's basically sustaining you for the next 3 months, and you can't communicate, it can be kind of frustrating. My host mom didn't know any English at all, and while I had taken Spanish before, it was still an overload, and my Spanish was hit or miss most of the time. And not only could I not communicate, but I also couldn't travel. I couldn't just go outside, get in my car, and go wherever I wanted, whenever I wanted. The cars in Costa Rica are really expensive, and the roads are small and they're crowded, so a lot of people rely on public transportation. So I had to utilize taxis and Ubers, find train stations, and go along with bus schedules. Those were things that I never had to do growing up in Shelbyville. And to make things worse, as I'm struggling in this place that I don't know, life keeps going on back home. I see my friends posting pictures on Instagram of what they're doing. My roommates texting me, keeping me up to date on things happening on campus. My family's throwing birthday parties. So let's just have a quick recap. I'm in a foreign country where I can't communicate very well, I can't travel whenever I want to, and I can't do all the typical stuff that my friends are doing back in college. To put it bluntly, life kinda sucked. Yet despite having all of these differences and having to adjust, getting back on that plane and flying back to the States was not something that I ever wanted to do. Costa Rica had become my home. I had settled in, I had made friends, I created a routine. Living there was normal. And when I came back to the States, things just weren't so normal. Like I said before, everyone else didn't put their lives on hold when I left. There were new restaurants that had moved in. There were old ones that had left. Buildings had been repainted. Roads were repaved. It was all the little things that nobody around here thought about, but they hit me hard. And that was the same with things from Costa Rica. It was all the little things that I missed, like walking down the street and hearing people talking in Spanish, or walking in to eat somewhere and they handing me a menu totally in Spanish, even if it was Italian food. When I came back, reality hit me like a brick wall. I jumped right back into work, into preparing for next semester and taking this class, and it was like everything that I had left behind picked right back up where I left off without ever missing a beat. My vacation was officially over. And while all the responsibilities that I had were the same, I wasn't. My views on life and how I wanted to live were totally different. All the hustle and bustle, it just stressed me out. I was still in Pura Vida mode. And I guess I still am. I hope that never changes. I would do anything to go back to Costa Rica. But right now, all I can do is let that experience change me and get me to a place even greater. In that beautiful country, with all the differences and excitement, I left pieces of me behind. And no, I won't ever be the same person that I was. But not everybody jumps at the opportunity to go on a plane, fly across the world, and live for 3 months. I'm glad I did. I'm truly blessed to be a part of that 1.5%.